Greetings, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers. This is another episode of the COMETSA Tuesdays, brought to you by COMETSA Television Network, live on this cold winter day. It sounds funny to say winter in August, but I'm told that August is still a winter month. This is COMETSA Television Network, the mind, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle we call the idea. We inform, entertain, we develop, educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That's the idea. Let me welcome Sis Tuli. Sis Tuli, welcome. You just arrived in time.
Yes, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome. Let me also wish our ladies a happy Women's Month. It is a very cold Women's Month. Welcome, welcome, Tuli. Today is a conversation that I have authors with me in studio that are going to engage in a very, very interesting conversation. Let me remind you that our COMETSA Tuesdays focus on a number of themes. The first Tuesday, we profile one of our members and the work they do, and they tell us also a story of their journey, personal and professional. The second Tuesday is what we have today, which is the authorship, readership, and storytelling. The third Tuesday, we look at the executive coaching and mentoring. And the last Tuesday of the month, we look at the Lekgotla African methodology. So today is about the authors. I want to welcome them. You can see them, they are ready. We have stock of books to showcase, but we're going to talk about one particular book and one particular story per author. Colleagues, it is not an interview, it's a conversation. I want to hear the story about the stories that made you to want to write. I also want to hasten to mention that tonight we're not going to deeply go into the books, as each one of these authors that you have in front of you are going to come back. We're going to welcome them back and then focus on their book one by one. So September, October, November, please don't miss the second Tuesday of the month. We're going to be looking at each of the books and the authors that are going to be introduced to you. Let's start very slow by introducing what we call them our observer guests. They've been here before. They understand the concept of the observer guests. They are the last talking guests in the studio. You'll hear from them towards the end of the show, as they will be giving us some reflections on what they will have had. But they will be basing their reflections on behalf of the viewers. Let me welcome Sis Tuli, welcome. Say hi to our viewers.
Yes, hi Sam, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Good to have you back.
Thanks.
You've got a difficult job today. Let me also welcome our brother Mzwandile Mantu. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Sam. I'm happy to be back here. Thank you so much for once again giving me the opportunity to be part of this wonderful platform. And good cold evening to the authors. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Lovely. Let me introduce the authors. We have Idah Mabaso, who is the author of Runs Blazing. Idah, welcome. Let me quickly see if we can access your book cover as you greet the guests. One moment. Tell us a bit about yourself and a little bit about this title, Transplacing. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam, for inviting me to be part of this platform. It's my first, and I'm so looking forward to it. Good evening, authors present, and good evening, Sis Tuli and good Nswandile. I'm looking forward to engaging with you. My name is Mokotudi Idah Mabaso. I am a Motswana woman. I grew up in the Northwest Province. My name, Mokotudi, means harvest time. I was born on the 1st of May, and that is during harvest time. And that's who I am. I currently reside in Centurion. And the book that I have published, Transplacing, is actually my first book. And I am a certified NLP practitioner and a life coach and a social runner. I am a social runner. So most of the people, when they see the title Transplacing, they automatically jump into conclusions that Transplacing is about running. And it is not necessarily so. I chose to tell my story through running. That's what it is. Transplacing is about a social runner who chose to tell her story through that, given the attributes that are gained from running, being mental, psychological, social, and lifestyle. And all of these require a huge amount of discipline, as you know. So my story is about living freely with curiosity, courage, and deep sense of adventure. It's a beautiful emotional journey. And when you read it, it will take you through moments of pain, reflection, inspiration, and surprisingly, there's a lot of laughter in this book. Because
so I read in the first pages when I read about some of the reviews, apparently
yes.
You can't hold it, but just laugh, but at the same time ask, why are you laughing? Well, this is so sad. We're going to come back to that. Hold it there. I just wanted you to greet the guest and also just show the book cover. We'll come back. You're going to hear more about your story. Just hold it there. Thank you so much, Sis Idah, and welcome to the show. We're definitely looking forward to hear more about your story. Wow. The next colleague is Lonwabo. I met Lonwabo at another book launch, and I'm glad we continued to be in touch. And today is here to talk to us about the book that he has authored. Over to you. Say hi to the listeners and tell us a little bit about your story. And of course, we'll come back and deepen their understanding of it. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'd like to stand on the proposal, on the protocol that has been set by Sis Idah, and to greet everyone, the viewers. It's such a privileged opportunity to be here today to talk about my first book, which is called A Gap in the Cloud. So my name is Lonwabo Patrick Kulati. There's a whole story behind my name, which we'll tell you one day, but the main thing is about joy. My mother gave me this name, but when they went to the Home Affairs Department during apartheid, then so my grandmother gave me another name. So they were both African names. And so the Home Affairs official said, no, we need one English Christian name. So Patrick was put in there. But anyway, I'm not complaining about that. Basically, I was born in a small town in the Eastern Cape called Port Alfred. That's a town between East London and Port Elizabeth. And then during my teenage years, I went to live in Port Elizabeth because my parents were there. I grew up, studied there, and went to university. and then started working and worked all over the country, basically. Moved to KZN, moved to Cape Town. Now I'm in Johannesburg. And I started writing the book during COVID, and I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to just give a bit more background to it. Thank you.
A gap in the cloud.
Gap in the cloud.
Beautiful story. I won't spoil it for the viewers. You're gonna tell us more about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Teb, my friend, I met Mr. Teb at the COMETSA conference, the 20th anniversary African conference of COMETSA. And I said, you know, this is the story to be told. Over to you, my brother.
Sure. You make me blush. I greet you. Gamoga. Galibicho, I am Mr. Tap, which is an acronym for Tebogo and my English name and my surname Poopedi. So that's TAP. That's how I go by the name of Mr. TAP. So I am a visually impaired male who is actually an advocate for persons with disabilities, a radio presenter, MC, and a runner, did I say? And so forth. So I'm a social runner as well. And everything that I do, basically, it's dedicated to transforming one's life, one step at a time. And yeah, man, and I'm also the visionary behind one award-winning recognized radio station, which is Skills Village Radio, which is a radio station specifically designed for and by people with disabilities. So I grew up Florida, and I got the benefits or the opportunity of living two lives that I can say, you know, living one bit better half of the life, you know, in the suburban spaces where my mom and dad, Nelly, that word, boy, girl. They used to, they titled it like that, you know. And then we also got an opportunity on the other side of Ogasi, which is Soweto, Brown Fisherville to be more specific, right? So, yeah, man, and I'm actually a visually impaired, like I said, and I've got a great story that I am going to share with you guys today, and it's going to transform you. And that's just basically it. It's about something called purpose. And I'm glad that I found my purpose in life. That's where I'll park it for now. Thank you.
What a title, Mr. Teb. How I lost my sight and gained my vision. That title just attracted me to have a conversation with you, and I'm glad you are here today. And I hear that you are preparing for your first Comrade marathons.
Absolutely, sir. So not easy, very scared. I'm still shaky about it. I'm meeting our coach, my coach this week. We've got like 10 months to prepare, and I've got a couple of months to make it or qualify for my first 42 kilometers in time. You know, not just completing it, but completing it in time so that I can qualify for Comrades, the 100th edition of it. That's it. So I'm very happy, looking forward to it. You know, I'm definitely going to do it. I'm going to have a great time in it. I've got a coach already here on the platform, so I'm safe.
Wow. We'll all be rooting for you, Mr. Teb.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder at what point does one realize that there is a book here to be written? I wonder. I think let's hear it from you. What triggered your decision to start telling your story through the book? Let's go back to you, Idah, and sit with your story that you had started telling us. You said that there's a lot to take from your book, and a lot of people, when they see the cover of your book, they are thinking about running. What is the story behind the book?
The story behind this Runs Blazing is, like I was saying earlier, the attributes that carried me. You know, in life, we get tested and about all sorts of things. And sometimes you don't have answers. But I'm one of those ladies who we call ourselves a 5 a.m. club or 5 a.m. gang. You wake up at that time when people are still asleep, you're already on the road. And that morning, those morning runs, that's the time when you are able to think, to come up with possible solutions. And by the time you finish a run, you think you're ready to take on the world. So the question is, at what time did I think it was the right time to write my story? It was when I stopped seeing failure as a personal inadequacy. Because I believe most of us, we have a story to tell, but we are afraid because we are scared of being judged. We are afraid for so many reasons. So when that feeling started, that's when I realized I think it's time to claim my story. And I made peace with the fact that failure does not bring shame, because over the years, I wasn't able to communicate my failures, especially in business and other areas, you know, of my life. But there was a time when I knew that I cannot keep quiet with all my experiences. You know, it's life lived recklessly sometimes, and life lived too carefully, and where you think there was never a balance. But then at the time when I was confident enough to put my story and share my story raw as it is, that's when I knew that I have grown and I was ready to share my story.
Wow. So what is the story?
My story is, looking back, I look at what I have achieved right now, right? Both in sports, both in life in general, and the person that I have become. And all of that is because of the running. What happened was, in 2015, I had the privilege of being a co-founder of a running club. That running club is now one of the biggest running clubs in Gauteng. It's called Just Running Athletics Club. When we started, we were only a few people, a handful, 6 people started the club. And as you know, it requires funding to start an initiative like that. We ended up being just a few, maybe 3, because we had to fund it from our pockets. And some people felt, no, we just wanted to run. We do not want to be spending money, growing a running club. So I stayed the course. I stayed the course for 10 years. Last year, we were celebrating the 10-year anniversary. From a club that started with a few people, not more than 10, today has got more than 250 runners. And 80% of those people are now competitive runners. They do comrades, they do ultra running, they travel the world. And just like me, they have beautiful stories to tell because they have changed lives in the process. Lives have changed for the better. So that is my story. It's not only about me, but it's the lives I've impacted in the process in that 10 years when I was on the road. Is those lives that I've impacted, and that's actually what prompted me to tell my story. And as I said, it's a beautiful story, full of laughter, pain, yes, and that's where I am today.
Yeah, there's a number of people that wish they could actually tell their stories through book, but there is this fear to get started. And often we say that if you're thinking about writing a book and you don't write, you will probably never write. And there's this belief that you must just write and forget about being perfect. How did you approach this process of starting to put your story in a pen, in a paper, on a paper?
I think what helped me a lot, Sam, is because what I've written in this book is a true story. These are the events that have taken place. These are the experiences that I have been through. So what I did, without writing anything in sequence, I just started to write I just told myself from 2015, even though I had started running long before 2015, I decided I'm just gonna write. Nothing in a specific sequence. I just started writing all my experiences, the events, my marathons, both internationally and locally, and my achievements, my failures, and the lessons learned from those experiences. So I just started to write. And I remember speaking to a few editors and, people who are doing proofreading. And one lady actually asked me, "Are you writing a book?" I said, "Of course, yes. I want to share my story. However, I want to be the one writing this book because I do not want emotion to be lost in the process, because my book is full of emotion." And so I said, I will write it myself. And when I feel I've written enough, that's when I'll get assistance for proofreading and editing, because this is my first book, as I've mentioned. I've never written a book before. And I have a confession to make. My plan, I was actually telling Lonwabo earlier, my plan was just to write this book to share my story. I had no intentions of writing a second book. But after engaging with the likes of Lonwabo and people present in your platform, it looks, I used to think running is addictive, but the way I look at it, I might just be addicted again to writing. And that was not the plan, but I'm not complaining. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So I was not scared. I just put my story on paper.
You just wrote, and now you are a writer. Let's hold it and bring in. I want to bring in Brother Mr. Ted because his story is also as a result of an incident, or will I say incidences, as he was starting to tell his stories of two lives. Take it from me, Mr. Tep, and share with us what happened. What led you to writing this book with such a beautiful title?
So my focus started how I lost my sight and gained my vision. So I just want to ask, ako na course in the office, viva Kaiser Chiefs, viva,
Yes, sir.
So that's where I saw myself, right? I saw myself as a soccer player, but not just a soccer player. I saw myself playing for Kaiser Chiefs.
Wow.
That's where it all began. There, it's where everything began. So I used to play soccer. When I attended school, Unified Public School, and Unified, quiet, tranquil, and everything. But it was not as vibrant as I wanted, and part of that journey. So there was a time when the RDP houses were then released within the other side of Soweto. That's when my parents then moved from Unified. We then moved to Soweto, Bramfisherville to be more exact. And that's where an opportunity and my love, I saw my dream come true. Because there, I can say 60, 70% of a young man wants to be a soccer player or then plays soccer for a certain team. Very vibrant, very, very active. And right, there was a team. The team was called Juventus. And just like that, I fell in love with it. Age 11, joined Juventus. Worked around it. Learned how to play, how to be a proper player. Fell in love with positions and everything. But the end goal was because that I wanted to play for Kaizer Chiefs. But then the opportunity then came because our coach used to be a brother to his elder brother used to host tournaments for there's this December tournaments that take place in Midlands in Zone 10. I think everybody knows those tournaments, Zone 10 tournaments around November, December. So that's where coach told me that, hey guys, if you guys want to play for Kaizer Chiefs or Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs scouts are going to be there. So give it your ultimate best because they are scouting and you guys can be one of those. Age 14 at that time, and the opportunity came present. And when the opportunity comes once in a lifetime. So there was a match that took place, and we jumped in, and there was a Kaizer Chiefs scout, and I think it was like 2 or 3 of them, if my mind serves me correctly. And coach, it was a match for under 18s. Remember, I was 14 at that time, but our team was not doing well at all. So coach was like, Mr. Tab, I was Mrembole at that time, right? Terminator, they used to call me. Terminator, Vana, Wabona, Ramukol. Second half, jumped in, and sure, I did it. I did what I'm good at and what I wanted to show, and just transform within the match. What happened at that particular moment is I had the soccer ball, so I dribbled this gentleman. I dribbled him and he fell. And I'm 14 and he's 18. So vuvuzelas, they're laughing at him. But it's soccer, man. It's a match. I'll dribble like in and then everybody started laughing at him. And that guy was angry. Why? Because I dribbled him, he fell. I passed the ball to one of our team members and it led to a goal. And that's what actually began to the journey of me losing my sight. So what happened is next time when I had the ball, he did not go for the ball. He then, because of Pelo Ikeji, he's angry. He literally went for me and he kicked me right here between my eyes, and everything went off at once. Boom, down. I don't know what happened then. I fainted a bit. I was carried out of the game, and the match was actually ended. Like, guys, this is not on. The match ended. I was iced, and that's it. But I gained my consciousness after that. But that's where the beginning of a journey that will transform one's life began. Right there, from that kick that transpired and that soccer match.
Oh,
my goodness.
That's hard. But we'll come back, explore more in terms of what happened between you and the gentleman, and how did you then gain the vision that you are writing about in the book. Hold it. It's a very, I'm a footballer myself. I can relate to this kind of stories, but yours is deep indeed. And I'm glad that you're looking at it positively today, but let's come back to your story and learn from it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're actually telling the story with the same energy, like it's like it happened
like a footballer.
yesterday.
Like a footballer, yeah.
That energy on the pitch is still there. We can feel it as you're telling
Ah,
your
no, it's amazing.
Yeah. I actually want to know from Mr. Tep as to what happened to the dream of playing for Kaiser Chiefs, but we'll come back to that. Brother Lonwabo, I met you at the book launch of our friend Mr. Tebogo, and you spoke about this book, but I'm not going to spoil it for the viewers. Take us through your story and introduce it and tell us really in detail what happened during the COVID time when you ultimately then came up with the book, your first book as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. I must just honor you for your ability to network and make something out of that. I feel like it's a skill that we all need to learn to stay in touch and keep in contact. So my story, thank you. My story happened, okay, there are two places which I want to start. I was traveling from Johannesburg to a small town called Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal. Then that was 2017, and I was still staying in Cape Town. I had moved up to Joburg then. And so I was very, very tired after being on a speaking journey for about 3 weeks following one another. And I was going to a board meeting there for an organization on whose board I was serving. So I was very tired. It was a small aeroplane, one of the small ones. So I went to sleep, and I really wanted to sleep. And so we took off. The weather in Joburg was clear. It was early evening. It was beautiful. It was calm and everything. But as we took off and I went to sleep, and I heard the captain say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being informed that the weather in in Durban and KZN is changing. So, but I'll keep you informed." Then I went back to sleep. And then I must have woken up by the turbulence that was shaking the aeroplane. Strong winds, driving rain, lightning illuminating the whole aeroplane, rumbling of the thunder. It was just something, it was a scary experience. Now, I have a policy. Other people may not agree with it. Policy is that I'd rather die asleep than to die awake. So I try to sleep during turbulence. So so the journey continued. I think he said, when we get to Pietermaritzburg and we cannot land, we're going to circle a couple of times. And if we cannot land, because the cloud cover was so thick and it was so low, we're going to go to land in Durban. And so I must have dozed off because I overheard him. Maybe after having had his circling, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we found a gap in the cloud." And then as he was saying that, he was landing the aeroplane through that gap. That evening, I took out my pen and my notebook, and I started scribbling this title, "A Gap in the Cloud," because it reminded me so much about my life of clouds and gaps. Clouds are difficulties. Gaps are moments of clarity and opportunity. And so that story ended there, but I started having this thing at the back of my mind. That evening I couldn't sleep because I was writing this thing, but I didn't write the book. I moved on. Fast track to 2020. I now just moved to Johannesburg in January, and in March, we had the COVID-19 and the lockdown and everything like that. Now, people from my hometown and from people that I knew were literally dying. I was attending online funerals and so forth. And I had this book, which was called Made to Count, which I was reading at the time. And I had I noticed in the book there was a fear that they call it atichiphobia. It's a fear of saying, if I were to die now, what would people say this person was here and left behind? And I was looking at my children saying, people are dying. I can die. I could die. And what would I leave behind if I were to die now? And this atichiphobia stuck in my head, this fear of, I mean, you can leave a house, you can, but what else? What is the legacy? So I thought about this during COVID as I was sitting at home. 2 stories came to my mind as something that I felt I could leave to the world. The first one, I call it a personal life-threatening crisis, which was a diagnosis of advanced cancer in 2011. But I didn't want to write yet another book about cancer survival because there's a lot of that. Then the second story happened I was diagnosed in November 2011. And then in February 2012, the chairman of the company I was working for, I was leading at the time, I was the CEO, and phoned and he said, listen, the board has made a decision to close down this business and this organization and let go of yourself and the staff. So please put together a plan that will help us to do that. So I now have a personal life-threatening crisis and a professional livelihood-threatening crisis happening at the same time. And so I was sick. I was going to hospitals. The cancer was a horrible story. And I tell all of this thing in the book, but as I said, I wanted just to say how. So the book really is about resilience. It's really at the core of it is about how do you bounce back without blaming anyone, without complaining, without, accusing and being angry. So I went through a program which was called a New Start, meaning nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. I went through that program every day. At home, we changed everything to make sure that my food was going to support my immune system in fighting this cancer for 4.5 months. And I went through that program. I went back to hospital. The doctor said, Mr. Kulati, whatever you had been doing, it has reduced the cancer cells in your body. I went and basically I went to do an operation, but it did not have the effect that it would have had because I had bounced back through that. So that was one struggle. Then that was a personal life-threatening struggle. Now I needed to go back to the professional. So it's a long story I tell also in the book about how do you as a leader deal with crises that happen unexpectedly. And I write about the stuff that I did with the team that I was working with at the time. Up until at the end, although we couldn't change the decision, because at the beginning we wanted the decision to be changed. I even went to the Minister of Energy at the time to try and get this decision changed because they were in the petroleum industry at the time. So although we couldn't change the decision, we then said, how do we make sure that out of this bad experience, our staff members and all of us come out good? So what I'm saying is a story about leadership, resilience, and resourcefulness in the face of adversity. It's about how do we bounce back? How do we become resilient in both areas of our lives, personal and professional?
Wow. There's this belief that all of us have stories that can change someone's life. But it does look like your stories changed your lives, and you are now sharing your stories with the rest of the readers. And I'm sure it's changing lives. But bring this back to the idea of being an author. Was it safe for you to first write about your own stories And then as you do that, and then discover that actually you are an author, because I know you're working on the second book now, does it have to take our stories being told for us to realize that we can actually call ourselves authors? Or what does it take for one to have that confidence that what they are going to write will indeed appeal to the readers? I'm really intrigued, because I don't think you ever imagine yourself writing books, but some incidents have to happen, and you have to be vulnerable and write about it only to discover that actually you're a very good author.
Yes, I think for me, my story is similar to Idah. When I was writing, I was literally writing for my children. And I didn't even have the idea of the book cover, the idea of the editorial and all of that kind of stuff. I was writing a story so that it can be there and make sure that people, my children. And then, but as I was working with the editor, and then they started talking to me about all the elements of editing and so forth. So then I realized as I was working, that as people were reviewing the book and giving me feedback, and I realized that this story was actually resonating with a lot of people. I tell you, after writing this book, I went all over, literally all over the country. I went to, Nelspruit, Limpopo, everywhere to tell the story about it. Well, the most important thing about being an author is a story that resonates with people's lives. That's what I believe people want. They want to reflect themselves in your story, but to see how you came out of it with lessons for you to share. So I now have the second book, which I've worked on, which is called Take the Gap. Now, I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to talk, but in terms of what you were asking me about now, I was just saying that I went into the process without knowing that I could write. In fact, I went back to the first time I think it was in the early 90s, when a friend of mine, I went back to remember when was I first told that I could write well. A friend of mine, we were in a group of guys, and then I was there, and then I was elected to be a chair of this organization, and I wrote a speech and I shared with the guy. The guy was so excited. In fact, when I wrote the book, I told him that that's the guy who encouraged me and told me that I could write.
Wow. Wow.
If
Mr.
I may.
Yeah, carry on, Idah. I'll come back to Mr. Tep. Yes, Idah.
Thank you, Sam. Lonwabo, listening to your story, if we were to write our experiences about life and throw all of those pieces of papers in a basket, and maybe we get Sam to shake all those papers and then you pick one, I will be looking for mine.
Oh,
not yours. I will pray that I pick my own experiences, not yours. That's how profound this story is. This is an exercise we used to do during team buildings, in corporate, where when you will complain about our lives, our personal issues, and they'll say, write your story on a piece of paper, throw it in a basket, they shake the basket, then you pick one. And you look at the one you've picked and you'll say, sorry, I think I need my list back.
Thank you.
That's why I believe.
Can't wait to read your book.
Thank you.
I Mr. Tep, I strongly believe that if we intentionally focus on translating our African storytelling into writing, I think all of us actually could be authors, because storytelling is an African thing, and I believe that it's the safest way to tell the story in a book, and then later on really develop the authorship side of it. If I look at Mr. Tep's story, he was pursuing a dream to become Kosi player so much so that he was causing havoc to the so-called established players. But an incident happened, and so as a result, that dream was not achieved, but a new dream, a new vision was achieved. I assume, Mr. Tapp, you wrote the book when having lost your vision already. And I guess that brings me to explain why the title and what is that vision that was revealed through you losing your sight.
Sure. I just want to add in something quickly about, the storytelling part of things. I'm Christian and grata what God has done using the power of the word, right? When you write, it's the power of the word. When you speak, it's the power of the word. So using word to transcribe one's life or its journey, it's beyond, it's a great journey, and it can be told beyond, So coming back to your answer, and something that I also like about about storytelling is that I love it when it's load shedding at home. I just realized that over this year that load shedding is very good at home because we sit as a family, and my mom, 77 years, just tells us, that other, when I was young, there used to be this, and she tells all the stories, right? And that's what we grew up with. This is what we know of storytelling, and everything, So I think that's very dope, actually. Like she's the word dope, but yeah, I love what you. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. But coming to your question, sure. How I lost my sight and gained my vision. There's a difference. And I only saw the difference when I lost my sight. So I realized that sight is something that you can see right now in the present, right? Right now I'm in a room and I can't see anything beyond that. Nothing until I move out. So that's sight. Narrow, here, present, now. But vision, it's beyond that. So me writing a book gave me the power of seeing things that I can be that I couldn't see when I was sighted. There's a lot of things that I've seen. Right now we had a discussion that I'm going to complete Comrades Marathon, right? But one would say, hi, ganjan kozawboni. No. I saw that. It's a vision. I visioned myself running, starting the Comrades. You see, 42 kilometers, qualification, flying over to KZN, preparing, running my 86 kilometers, completing it in record time before 12 hours. That's my vision. I've ran my race already. So I'm just going to complete that using the power of the eyes right now. So that's power of vision. And it helped me a lot. I've understood the power of vision only when I lost my sight. Because everything was narrow. When I was playing that soccer match, I saw the Kaizer Chiefs scout here, there, right? Nothing beyond that. Do you understand? I only saw Kaizer Chiefs when I saw one wearing that jersey. I saw Kaizer Chiefs when Kaizer Chiefs was playing against Pirates. That was basically me depending on sight. But the moment I lost my sight, I saw a broader vision, which is permanent, and it has helped me transform my life forever. So that's my understanding, and that's what helped me to be where I am currently right now as the Mr. Tapp, the power of vision. That's why I believe you can see when you go to when you're in organizations and so forth, they want the vision of organization, vision of a company. They don't want sight of the company. No, they say the vision of this company is to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years from now. It's that beyond the dependence of sight. So that's how I explain and I understand vision for me right now.
Wow. And I know that you are not just the author, you're also a motivational speaker. and you indicate as well that you're also a broadcaster. Look at so many talents that I just emerged as a result of that transition.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So book is the book writing a way of revealing ourselves?
Sure.
I think so.
I think so.
It is.
Yeah.
What happens when you are sitting down at your desk and you are writing? What are the things that those who are not writing are aware of that you would like to share with them? Because we often meet you when the book is published and we don't really go back and say, how was the process? Share with us what happens to you, what goes through you as you are writing the book and what gets revealed that people don't know of. Idah.
Oh, thank you, Sam. You know, listening to all the other authors speaking about their book only confirms that, you know, we're part of the human race and life was never meant to be perfect. Because I think life doesn't reward perfection. And the day when I woke up and I realized that I actually do not have to be perfect because that's not what life requires. All I needed to do was to take one honest step forward. And that honest step was to put my life experiences on paper as honestly as I could. And I managed to do that. And we often read about, people often write about their successes, their success stories and the glamorous lifestyles that come with it. But it's very rare that you read about what it took for them to get where they are or to achieve what they have achieved. And I would like to hear stories like Lonwabo's story, to hear stories like Tep's story, because it confirms the very same thing that I used to worry about years ago, that, you know, before you tell your story, it has to be polished, it has to be glamorous, because you want to be perceived in a certain way. But then I grew up. Life adversities taught me different, that you don't have to be perfect. And for you to stand there boldly and own your mistakes and your successes, that's the only way you can make an inspiration. You can inspire other people. And I'm inspired by what I'm hearing today, and even more so thinking, you know, we keep ourselves in these bubbles thinking we should not struggle or life shouldn't be a struggle. But unfortunately, it's gonna be a struggle. And we have to develop ways of navigating life with all those struggles as part of our day-to-day lives. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Take
and so
one
said
step.
Juliana. Yeah. So
Take
said
one
Juliana that
honest
you
step.
are an inspiration, Idah.
Yeah, thank you. So one honest step forward. I think that's, to me, that's the message that I can give, and move away from, you know, trying to be perfect. Life hasn't rewarded me when I was trying to be a perfect person. I was never rewarded for that. But with honesty, I saw a lot of good results with honest decisions that I took. And they happened to be the right decisions because I faced them with honesty.
Wow. I think Lonwabo, thanks, Idah. I think Lonwabo, what I'm hearing here is that if you are to tell an authentic story through a book, just write and don't edit. Up
Yes.
front. Just write,
Yes.
because I guess the reason why people don't write it perhaps is that they're trying to be perfect, as Idah is saying, and then before they could write, they start editing their story, and then we don't get to hear their story.
You're spot on. So one of the things that helped me is, in fact, I write it in my introduction. I says, something wonderful happened whilst I was writing this introduction. Unexpectedly, I found my old journal in which I wrote an interesting entry on the 20th of March, 2012. So as I was writing writing the introduction, I popped up and I found a relevant story from an entry that I had made 8 years ago. So journaling is very, very important in the process of writing for those people that are inclined in that direction. But also, it does help to read other people's views on what the topic that you're talking about, because also you can get stories from them. Sometimes people write about themselves, which is fine, which is just write your story up until the end. But sometimes your story can be amplified by other people's stories. So I do a lot of that. So the third element is the research that I did. In other words, going online to understand this concept more and so forth. For example, I shared the story, the whole thing about atichiphobia, which was a new term. So I needed to go online and understand what it means. So, and I think the third element is, the fourth one is the issue of storytelling. Before we joined online, I was sharing with you another story around this storytelling. So let me just say that again, as you asked me to do. So this guy was given a dog as a gift. And so this dog was already old. It was not a puppy. And the owner of the dog gave him pills for him to give this dog every day at a certain time. But he didn't explain how to do that. So the guy went home, took the pills, and tried to feed the dog. But every time the dog had to take the pill, it would close its mouth. And the guy tried to open the mouth, force this thing, but this thing would gag, and the whole place would be messed up. So he did this one day when another friend of his was at his house visiting. And as the visitor saw this, he said, "What is going on?" And so he told him the story. And he asked him, "Tell me, what does the dog like to eat without any struggle?" And he says he likes to eat peanut butter. And so he says, "Take a spoon of peanut butter, put this pill inside there, close it up, and let the dog eat the peanut butter." And the dog leapt the peanut butter together with the peel. The next thing, the pill is inside the body of the thing. And the guy said, that is how stories are. Sometimes people do not know that they can get help from a story of Mr. Tep, or of Idah, of myself. But when it is put in a book or any published material, look at films. All those things, the movies, are stories that are packaged in a way that people can absorb them without necessarily knowing, but enjoying the journey. So I do want to encourage people to collect stories. When you're watching a movie, when you're reading a newspaper, collect stories so that when you ultimately write your own book, you can have some things that you can grab and put to amplify your own writing about whatever topic you're thinking about.
Beautiful stories, that on its own. Idah, you did mention that when you started writing, you just wrote and never worried about editing. But at some stage, editing came into it and transformed your book into something that you never imagined. So just explain to our viewers why it's important to put editing at the back burner while you are still telling your story, and bring it later, and how powerful that can be for emerging authors, if understood.
Yeah, okay. Sam, what I can tell you is I have a sense of humor, and that sense of humor keeps me going. And there's one thing that I'll always hold on to. It doesn't matter what I'm going through, but I will always find a way of laughing at my mistakes, and it has kept me going. For some reason, it makes me to be softer on my side and not be too judgmental, because I always remind myself it's okay to make these mistakes. Yes, I've messed up here, but I'll come back tomorrow and try and sort it out. I know I'll do better in a few months' time. So I was afraid that the editor or the person who will be doing the proofreading is gonna mess up my emotion that I want to communicate to the reader, to say, this is how I want the story to be told, the way it was, with emotion and all that goes with it. So I did not want assistance. Even when she started working on my book, I sat with her line by line, and she'll be saying, no, Sis Idah, you can't write this. And I'll say, why? And she'll say, no, maybe you can't put it on paper. I say, no, you're going to put it on paper because that's exactly how it happened. The reader will decide for themselves how they consume it, but it's exactly how I want it to be understood. And Rans Blazing was published in May, at the end of June. The first 2 weeks of May, I had already sold more than 50 books before even the launch,
Wow.
right? And then I asked myself, I do not know much about books and writing and all that. All I knew is I put my story in a book, and the few people that bought that book decided to communicate and share my stories with their friends, and I got a lot of orders on that. And they called me, and a lot of them commented on my sense of humor, and that's something that I kept. And I said to the proofreader or the lady who was helping with editing, to say that you don't touch, because now that is a bigger part of the story that I wanted to tell. But listening to Mr. Taps and to Lonwabo and about keeping journals and stuff, I can say, even though I did say I was not going to write a second book, looks like there's a chance, a big fat chance that I might write a second book.
Yeah. So the key thing is one must just start. Because I think we think too commercial about books before even we start, and then we get discouraged. I would like to believe that the commercial side of writing, that is a spin-off that comes with it. But I would like to believe, Mr. Tap, that telling our stories in the form of a book is a continuation of the traditional way of actually sharing stories with people. People just told stories and never bothered whether people are going to like it or not. If they don't like it, so what? But then, of course, in today's world, though so many stories get lost because people are just too scared to write about their stories. And I think if it wasn't the incidences or events that you experience, I don't think we'll be sitting here today, Mr. Tap. If I didn't meet you and you told me that story, I don't think I would even have invited you, because I saw the book and then I saw the title and then you shared the story with me. I said, this needs to be told, because at the end of the day, it's not about the book, but the story the book is carrying.
Oh,
and that for me is what I feel we should put high up there and say, people, you are either going to tell your stories through TikTok or YouTube or a book or some sort of thing, but the moment you put it in a book form, now you transform from being a storyteller to become an author. Am I right, Mr. Ted? I'm sure you ended up worrying about editing, proofreading, publishing, printing, distribution, marketing. All of a sudden, you are now in the business of writing books. Mr. Ted, what do you say?
I love that, and I just love what you just said. It's the packaging part, and the team has been talking about it over and over again, right? It's just you are packaging the story and delivering it to the near and far. So I also just want to tap into what you guys have expressed as well. So the journey of writing is very lonely for me. For me, it was a very lonely, and I realized there's a number that I relate to, which is the number 8. Most things happen 8, 8, 8, 8. It took me 8 months to write this book, and I wrote this book the year in 2022. I think me and you, my brother, were at the same time. I did it. I started writing in 2020, and the journey was very lonely. But let me tell you why I started writing. I did a lot of motivational speaking, but I was approached by one of the ladies, the station man, the managing director of National Council for Persons with Disabilities, like, Mr. Tab, you are so good. Why don't you write? Why don't you write a book? I was like, yo, nah, buga. But yes, write a book. How don't you write a book and tell your story like yo? But no, I don't know where to start. No, just write a book and then we will support you. How? No, you just write the book. When you're done, come back to us. We'll see how you want to help. Do you understand? Just having a support sometimes, knowing that it's just that. And January, I started 2020. After 2030 cricket, I started writing my story. And I just started. 8 months later, I was done, submitted, and tell you something about editing and everything. The way it is, or the way I submitted it, it's how it came back. There was not much of editing that was done because it was clean, it was clear, and it's just as transparent as I wanted to be. It was the truth. I like how my sister explained. That's how she wanted the story to be told, and the recipient. So that's how my book is. And that's why one of the people who read my book, they will say, Mr. Tab, there was a spelling there. That's what I wanted. That's how I experienced it. That spelling error, it's there. But that's what I received at that particular time. So receive what I received, so that it has to be as truthful as it can be. So yeah, that's how it was from the very beginning to the end results of this amazing book, which is how I lost my sight and gained my vision.
Wow. Mr. Tab, you're taking me back to some memories. Let me also, just to affirm what you're saying. The writing of my first book was a very lonely journey, I must say. This is my first book as well. This was the lonely journey. And in fact, when I ultimately published it, I was so tired. And I was so nervous as well, because I did launch it as well, Lonwabo, at the City Lodge in Newtown. I was so nervous. I remember carrying all these books and saying, my goodness, I wonder if what the experience going to be like. I think we must come back and have another session about the experience of writing the first book and demystify this myth that writing is the most difficult thing. The first book is likely to be lonely and is likely to be very, very difficult, but it's actually a transition into something amazing. And I know we are showcasing, but we are actually motivating the people to say, here we are showcasing book covers. We had not written books before. We didn't go to a writing school. We just had stories of our lives to tell. And as just like Lonwabo, I now, but the most enjoyable book was this one, and then I will stop showcasing. It's really it's not showcasing, it's motivating. This was the best book, the most enjoyable one, because it is reflection from the first book. Because there's a lot of things in the first book that were not 100% right. As I write the 100 principles, this is part 1. I'm perfecting my first book, and I've heard from many people say Don't worry about the first book. You can't go back and rewrite it, but you can write the best book, the best second book, as a result of the mistakes that you made in the first book. So that is the message I think we are saying, Linda, sorry, not Linda, Idah, we are waiting for the second book.
It must come.
I hope so. And one thing
Yeah.
I want to say about writing books as well, in the industry, I'm in the defense industry. So I have been requested a couple of times to come and give a talk to the young women who want to come and do business in the defense industry. And as you know, it's a very hostile, it's a very complex industry in its nature, you know, to do business in. So twice I had to turn them down. And then the third time I had to explain to them. And I said, I don't want to do it because if I were to stand in front of those young ladies and relate my experiences in life, in business, and how I got to be here today, you know, the results will be different. They'll never come back. They'll say, no, thank you. We'll go and look for, you know, something different, or we'll pursue business in other industries. And they did not understand. I said, and I had to mention to them that I cannot stand in front of these kids and lie and paint a rosy picture, because the picture is not rosy at all. And it's not for the faint-hearted to operate or to do business in this industry as a woman. And they understood. Then I said to them, okay, I will be writing a book, and I would want all these ladies who are interested in coming on board, they should read this book, and maybe it will give you a better understanding of why I never accepted the invitation to come and tell these kids about how rosy it is and why I am in where I am because of, you know, all the nice things. It's not glamorous at all. You know, the experience is not glamorous, but however, books help us. That my book helped to relate my story. And now they're coming back and saying, now we understand why you never accepted the invitation. So now I think storytelling and books will help me to come out.
Yeah,
you know,
we are looking for more stories from you. Franz Ramutla here, Makulove says, hi, I think he meant to say Idah. He says Linda. He says, hi, I hereby confirm that running while exercising provides the opportunity for reflection and decision making. I think he was referring to some remarks he made.
Yes.
And then he continues, and of course he is acknowledging you guys. He's saying a powerful lineup of authors, highly informative and encouraging. You know, Makulu, since we started this program, I'm responding to Franz now, Ramut. Since we're starting this program, I'm amazed by a number of powerful authors out there. By the way, the other author is sitting here, Zwandile. We're going to hear from him. An author of note. I thought that I was starting to believe this misnomer that Black people don't write and Black people don't read. I honestly speaking, every second Tuesday, we have I have a lineup of books here and authors that I would like to bring here and to demystify this misnomer that Black people don't read and don't write. I think we are generalizing, and I'm saying, yeah, I agree with Franz. This is a good lineup, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. But let's bring the serious side of things, because I don't want us to oversimplify this and say it's easy. I started touching on the business of writing. I think once we have now become accustomed to writing, it's almost like you're playing an amateur football, Mr. Tep, and then all of a sudden you get promoted from Mutsimbe Foundation. Now you are in the PSL, and then you start to realize that actually now you are not up to this thing. Yeah. So what I would like to say is that we are saying that let's all ride, but there is a Premier League, and all of us are aspiring to the Premier League. And this Premier League is defined by a number of things, as I started listing. For me, the key thing is that this publishing story is very important. It's another discussion. But I think once you become serious writer, you want to commercialize this thing, and you really want your books to be put against another standard. And then, of course, the issue of distribution is something I would like us to address. You can't be writing these powerful books and then you're taking home a quarter of the royalties, and somebody else somewhere is collecting 80% of your hard work. It's not fair to your family, to your children, and everybody else. So that means we need to talk about that at some stage. And so I'm basically saying I'm trying to correct something that we might have communicated and made people to believe that just write for as long as you're writing, it doesn't matter. It does matter. That's why I think Lonwabo will agree with me, and Idah as well. There are people who are reviewing books, and the reviewers are almost like supervisors. They help you get better. So it's important to subject our books to reviews. And then, of course, there are people who critique books. I think we must also talk about that. That's also very important. And that is now you are graduating to the Premier League, but you have to have started playing at amateur level. So let's get all of us become amateurs. With those few ways, I want you to reflect on what I've just said, because I'm wanting to challenge ourselves, not just to write and be okay with whatever we have written, even if there are people out there that feel that we are not adhering to any standard. We need to aspire to that. And that's why we have here with us today our observer guests. They are here for a reason. They've been listening. I'm sure they're going to give us some nuggets from our own inputs. But before I invite them in here, I want you to reflect on the Premier League story I've just shared of you. And then we can open the floor for them. Who wants to take it?
No, I will go, and I definitely agree with this one. And I'll tell you why. It's because I've been advised that, hey, when are you writing the second book? But I can't write the second book if 98, 99% of South Africans or the world has not even don't know about my book. And it's because the process of sales, marketing, advertising, that's the Premier League. And it's a very challenging process for me, actually, because there are challenges in these. So we met at COMETSA. I had a table I was selling. That's how I generally sell my books, right? But there's also now the advantage of technology, selling books online. I think that's also another tab that most authors of myself, I'm also thinking of, hey, instead of always standing at markets and so forth, let me also tap into this different sphere and see how far it can take myself, right? So it's just those kind of things that I see, like, yes, I can go to the next book and the other book, but the other one did not have impact on a larger majority. It has not reached most of the people that it needs to reach, and so forth. So I think it's just part of the journey, the challenge that has been experienced by myself. But then the opportunities that always avail themselves and taking advantage of the technology and so forth. I think the journey is there, and just getting someone who says, hey, we'll definitely do this, you do that. Let's be formalizing. Let's run. I think it's something that we can also tap into and see if it can grow and make sure that it shouldn't just be a book, but it should be a book that will stand the test of time. Even 50 years to come, it will still stand. Say that Mr. Tapp's book, How I Lost My Sight and Gained My Vision.
Beautiful. And you coming back in September, Mr. Tapp, we're going to go deeper into your book. So we'll unpack it and make people want to read it.
Yes, it's very deep, yeah.
Thank you.
Can I come in just to support what Mr. Tapp was saying? Because as I'm listening to all of us here, at least those that have spoken, I'm learning a lot as well, because you will never stop learning from the. Then maybe let me show that I'm learning to make to invite all of you to the launch of this book. All right, Take the Gap. How the undermined, the underestimated, and the underdogs can turn their experiences into success. So it's going to be launched on the 27th of August at Old Mutual in Clearwater Mall. But we're going to go online. I had a meeting with Old Mutual today just to make sure that that people, when they come back from work, they can come and participate in this. It's very, very important, because as I said, when I first wrote my first book, I didn't understand or even had an interest in the business side of this thing, marketing, sales, doing, sending, distribution, all those things. I didn't think about them up until later. Now with the second one, we're trying to do things much better. But you are right when you're saying we need to learn. So if we were here, the previous book that we wrote, the next time we need to learn, we need to keep growing. And it is these networks like these ones here that we're now having, and others, when we see and attend other people's launches, when you learn and read other people's work, and you realize that this whole thing is a professional thing. You are now an author, from which the word authority has come from. So, for example, another important part which I'm learning, this book, the second book, as much as the first one, it's the second book is more, for your corporate, for your leaders, for your HR, for your learners and learnership and development, speaking to executives and all of those kinds of things. So you also are looking for platforms like that, conferences, places where you can display your book and make sure that people are aware about that. And I think as part of this growth that we're doing, we need to understand. Also, someone said that these books must cross borders. Is right.
Yeah.
The first book that I wrote was featured in there's a Kenyan writers club that I think it's called Akaba. They asked me to send 2 copies of the book there. It was part of this, I can call it a competition. So we need to move to sell on the African continent as well, to share our stories there, but also read what other Africans are writing so that we can all grow together.
Beautiful. I agree with Juliana there. An exchange must take place. The continent is rich with authors. Idah, let's hear from you, and then I'm going to hand over to our observer guests to give us their reflections.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for the advice, because I must say, being the first-time writer, I took the sales and marketing side of it for granted. And maybe because I did take advantage of the technology, as Mr. Tapp has mentioned, and it worked. It worked for me. As I said, the first 2 weeks, this book was just selling itself. It was just selling itself. So I even said to the publishers, when they said to me, you need to give us time because we need to market your book. And I said, but why do I have to market it? The courier guy is forever at my doorstep collecting books, so it's marketing itself. I'm fine, I'm very busy. But then I realized with the second batch of books that I'm making money out of this book. So now I called my publisher again and said, what ideas did you have, by the way, about marketing this book? And that's when I realized that I actually did take for granted that we've got to evolve, as you say. With my second book, I will definitely learn better in terms of sales and marketing, the marketing part of it, that requires effort and time. And that's something that I never afforded the people I work with who are trying to help me, because they do understand the importance of it. But I said, my part is done. All I had to do was to share my story. People are buying the book, so I am okay. But it's not okay, because there is a lot to learn, as Lonwabo mentioned. We can take advantage of the technology. We actually have a lot of tools that can help us, that we can apply to sell these books and make them available in other countries, as one of the, the guest has mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And as Lonwabo said, attend book launches.
Yes.
We'll come back to that next book launch and give the information to support each other as well, because it's a hard work that needs to be appreciated. With those few words, I'm going to, it's not few words, a lot of words. I'm going to hand over, to our observer guest. This is the part I like most, and this is really a way of us receiving feedback. I appreciate these colleagues and members of COMETSA that always avail themselves as observer guests and give a reflection to us. Sis Julie and Brother Mzwandile, it's now your time to give us a reflection. We want to hear how we have been engaging with viewers on this important topic. I don't know who goes first.
Well, I can.
Yes, Julie, unmute and then please take it from there.
You are muted.
Julie, you want me to unmute you?
Unmute me, Sam?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Wow. What a wonderful Tuesday evening. Just amazing and really, really inspiring. And I want to talk about the book that's sitting in my head, but I am inspired to say the least. And you know what Idah has said has just liberated me, because she just spoke to right where I am. When she opened up and said, when I stopped seeing failure as a personal inadequacy, and also acknowledging that at failure does not bring shame. For me, I think that's your strongest point, and that really moved you, and it really moved me as well. And just the whole journey, for me, the theme about you, it's all about ensuring authenticity, telling the story as it is, which is so much important, that you don't cover up. It's really about sharing your own story. And you said, you discovered when you were reflecting in your life and realized that you were ready to share your story, that you realized that you've reached a certain point in your life. And I think for me, it's really a good point to start from. And it's authentic. It comes from you. It's not competing with anyone. It's not about what anyone else is doing or what has done. And then when Sam was asking about, wasn't it difficult about you writing a book? Your answer also comes from authenticity. You said, it's a true story about my own experiences. And in the way that spontaneity, how you wrote it, that you didn't even have to do, a sequence of chapters, whether they make sense and all that. And also when I think you said, was it somebody who was reading wanted to help you edit, you said, no, I don't want that the emotions should be lost, because this book is about my own personal emotions. So for me, that authenticity radiates right through the story. And then that, the last part you said, we're just part of a human race. We're not perfect. And we just have to take one honest step forward, one step at a time. And also, what I also like about yourself, you mentioned that you have a sense of humor. And you laugh at yourself. Your mistakes make you softer to yourself. That is just so amazing. And a friend of mine also told me about this type of behavior, that it's holding lightly. And when you hold lightly, you are bound not to be disappointed in life. Thank you so much, Idah. And
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next one was about Mr. T, who said his whole the whole sad story about how in life you go about in life with innocence, that you're focusing on a goal. You want to be in the Premier League, you want to do, and just somebody comes out of nowhere that then aims to destroy you and destroy your life. And that your talent actually led to this very terrible tragedy of you losing your sight by the gift that you had. What's encouraging for me is how you tell the story. There's no sign of anger. There's no sign of jealousy. There is really no sign of that. It is just no bitterness about it in the way that you go about it, and how you reframing now and defining how sight is now. It's for now, it's for the present. And then vision is really beyond. That really opened my mind as well. That vision is beyond what you see. And they're really demonstrating right through the power of your vision. And really looking at the learning that was said. Even Lonwabo mentioned that we have to learn to each other, to say the challenges that you learned with the first book, the distribution challenges, that you are open about it, you are learning, and then that I just believe that you are going to really go places. I really wish you well in your journey. And I think already, as you say, you do a lot of public speaking. You are motivating a lot of people, especially people, some of them who are living with disabilities. I think you should continue doing the great work. And I don't doubt that. I think the other book will be coming. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting with excitement for that. And I've color coordinated my comments. My Lonwabo's journey. First of all, I'm still intrigued, Lonwabo. Why did you believe rather die in asleep than being aware? I think it's a story for another day.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And how, sometimes destiny works, that when the pilot said, we are going to land, a gap in the cloud has happened, that how you captured that and you kept it with you. And it's just amazing how, sometimes this, life happens, destiny happens, and how it just captures you and leads you elsewhere. And really about the journey, the theme about your journey is about legacy. It started with everybody was dying during COVID. And what will my children say what is this story that I want to leave behind? What is this legacy? Least did you realize that it was not only for your kids, it was for all of us. And we are so grateful to that thought of hanging on to that, of writing. And also, you know, the whole thing of your will and determination on being faced with the personal tragedy and, of course, the professional tragedy almost at the same time. But that didn't stop you. Your resilience came through, and your will and determination in fighting the illness or the disease, and in the same way as the bounce back and being able to work, even though it was not the ideal solution with a professional crisis, but you went and made sure that you step out of that. And I'm sure your colleagues, even today, they still remark about how you've dealt that. And it's all about, the story is also about changing lives. And you said the story with how do you sell a story is about becoming an author. It's about sharing a story that the people resonate with, that people see themselves out of the story. But most importantly is how they see you getting out of it, which provides motivation and inspiration and through it. And then the last point is about you know, the learning as authors or new authors or first-time authors that learn from each other and collect stories from others. And now, you know, like and encouraging the other authors here that look at networks, look at platforms, conferences, and even the most important one, that we are African writers. So the cross-border writing and making sure that your books are distributed, because we are part of Pan-Africanism or Pan-Africa. So I'm really, really inspired, and thank you for sharing and sharing so well, so authentically, so easy. You make it look so easy, but in the way that you've related it, it's also very inspirational.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. Much appreciated. Mzwandile has long crossed borders. He will tell you that he contributes writing to a number of newspapers here, the Home, Mail and Guardian. Thanks for sharing that article. I'm going to look at it when we finish here today. And the Namibian newspaper, Amen, the author of Note. I'm not putting you under pressure. I just want people to know that they can follow your contribution at Mail and Guardian, and maybe also reach out to you. Over to you, my brother.
Thank you very much, Sam. And thanks, guys. I'm very honored to be in your presence. All of this is good. It's wonderful. And I think, first of all, we have to say thank you very much to COMETSA for not only bringing together us as readers and potential writers with the authors who have already who are already in the field, but also being a conduit of these authors in terms of exposing them, and not only for their benefit. I think more for our benefit, to know about them and their stories, more than for their own. Of course, I mean they also need this kind of exposure. And the first thing, in fact, let me begin from here. Because my first point was around marketing and sale of South African books. I think we can extend that to African books as well, I guess so. And that was my first point, because when I thought about this this show and the fact that is going to bring authors and they're going to talk about the authorship processes. And I actually saw people who had written books, and I was thinking to myself, have I ever heard about them? And I didn't think, that I had. One title that struck my mind, it rang some bells, was the title about how I lost my sight, but gained my vision. And I was thinking that, but there's a challenge here. We really need to work on the marketing and sales, or the exposure of these writers, to us as their readers. World leaders have been, have read personal memoirs and biographies of other leaders, from history, be it military leaders or presidents. So it's very important that we get exposure to these kinds of stories. Personal memoirs and biographies might be personal to the people who produce these stories, but there's more to them, because you learn from these stories their struggles, if they are talking about their struggles, and how they have managed to overcome whatever they've been struggling with. And I think it's important to point out that you have people who have been on the path of self-destruction because they didn't realize that what they were going through is something that other people have been experiencing as well, which is making this whole thing of personal memoirs and biographies and other personal stories very, very much important. And now the other point that I wanted to speak about is there a gap between the readership and the books? Are we not experiencing here in South Africa or anywhere else, especially in South Africa? Let me talk about our own context. Are we not experiencing a gap here between the readers, and the authors? Is there a place where, as South Africans, you can actually go and find that these are the authors that we have, and these are their stories, and these are the titles, so we can come to this place? COMETSA has started that, thanks to Sam Sima here, the process of making sure that, because now I know that I can come to COMETSA and say, Sam, I know that you're bringing people together. So what is of interest from the people of South Africa, be it writers or people who can, who are doing other things that are interesting and of public interest as well. So where can we go to find our authors? Where can readers go to find their authors? Because had it not been for the invitation that I got from Sam to be here, I wouldn't have known about these wonderful, wonderful authors, and their stories. So what do we do about that? And the other thing that I thought, we should also look at is to what extent does does technology compete with readership of books? Have we become a nation, or in fact, a global citizenry that is so captured with short sound bites and Twitter 48 characters of communicating information to us? Are we not too captured by that? And to what extent have we become, as the nation or people of the world, to what extent have we become too lazy to read books? If you are used to only those 48 characters on Twitter to get your information or short sound bites, how are you going to read this book you have become so interested in, maybe by virtue of even the title? How are you going to read that? What if you read only the first page, and then, as much as you would like to continue, but you don't have the energy, you don't have the concentration level that is needed to read the book? So these are some of the things that I think we need to begin with. And I don't think that it's a point of despair, though. I believe that it's one of the things that perhaps we need to deal with in order to say that we are paving the way for the authors to actually get the inspiration to write. What I mean by that is to say that, okay, how do we begin to promote reading? You know, do we run competitions where people can read books and then they come back and say that, okay, maybe Lonwabo's book, did I read it? Okay, if you did read it, how many of you have read this book? And then, okay, come. Lonwabo is going to be there. There's going to be this competition, and then we must, as the people who have read the books, say that, you know, this is what the book was all about. So Lonwabo can tell that, you know, okay, this one read the book, this one didn't read the book. So in that way, we're beginning, you know, to get people to read again. You get people, because, you know, the internet, the social media is very, very aggressive in terms of marketing itself. You know, it's very aggressive. You get these adverts, the algorithm that they put together, they watch you, you know, what you watch, and then they give you all of these things. And they create actually the culture of consuming what you get from artificial intelligence, you know, and technology. And then you lose readership. You know, so why are we not doing the same as authors to say that we have to capture this market? Like in the book, in capitalism, not like I'm a communist, but in capitalism, you know, they even create needs that are not there. All of a sudden, you know, my children, without, you know, when they go to the fridge, for instance, there's no food here. They would say that, but there's no food here, Dad. And then when you look at, you know, look inside, there is food, but, you know, there are cabbages and other things that we need to cook. So by food, they mean junk, right? So who has made that? Who has, you know, what advertising is doing in terms of making people to, you know, making people to believe that they have certain needs, you know, that they may not have necessarily been aware of had it not been for the advert. So I'm trying to say by those words, before I move on to the few points that I have, that, you know, we create also the market. I think it's important, you know, to create the market. So the reading culture is very much important. I believe so. And also the motivation behind the writing as well. I do hope that, you know, at some point there will be a talk about the motivation behind writing. If your motivation is profit, then what kind of a zone are we going to? So if it's profit, then, you know, there should be an honest, you know, we need to share honestly, honest information to say that if you want to write for profit, this is the market, okay? The books, the printed books, are they still being bought, or do you have to put your books on Amazon? What kind of advice, you know, can you give to people who want to write, you know, for profit? So that if you flunk or fail on the first book, you knew that this was going to happen, because we advised that, you know, these are the pitfalls of publishing, for instance, you know, in the age of Amazon and other platforms where you read the book instead of, and you learn from there and then say, okay, this is what I'm going to target. Because I'm interested in actually knowing from these authors as well that, you know, the, you know, these two platforms, that is the readers, the books that you'll be, like your book, when it's on Amazon, or other platforms, I know Amazon, I'm sorry, I don't mean to advertise them, versus the publishing of the books. Have you done that assessment? Have you even thought about it, that the printed book versus the book that is on Amazon? Where do you lean towards? Do you lean towards the printed books as opposed to, and I think it's all about commercialization, of course, also, that, you know, if you want to commercialize it, then you have to think about different platforms. So insofar as, this is my last point and I'll shut up, insofar as non-profit, which is like to share these the stories, these very, very inspirational stories. You know, I didn't know that you can actually fall to sleep in the middle of a turbulent flight. But with me, I have a problem, Lonwabo. I am a very, you know, insomniac person. So I think I'll have to buy some, a lot of But I must say that, you know, so that's inspiration. However, let me say that be careful what you wish for, because they say that, you know, if you are cold, let's say I've watched this movie, I forgot its name, that it crash lands on snow, I think Antarctica, you know, on snow. So these guys, you know, they say something that I've learned about, I've read about, you know, a while back, that, you know, do not sleep. Do not fall asleep because that's how you are going upstairs. So, you know, so those inspirational stories, you know. So how do you then, because like this, you know, the authors we have here, they are inspirational. So when we're inspirational, it's like, you know, the reason for my writing is that I became a social justice warrior before I became a contributor to public discourse. So meaning that, you know, I want people to read my public opinions. So then that then means that if you are interested in not only having written the books, but in also making sure that people read. So what other platforms, what other things can you do? Because you want your story to be out there. You are not necessarily into profit. So what other ways to do that? I've realized that, you know, Sam is a very versatile person insofar as technology is concerned. He's very, you know, dexterous when it comes to artificial intelligence as well. So that makes me think that, you know, people like him can give, well, I'm not undermining you others here. I'm not making any judgment about your own understanding and knowledge of technology. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, now, what if you also start a vlog? What if you start a blog? What if okay, giving talks is already part of it, you know, but to understand where we are, you know, as your readers, and therefore to come to us, to TikTok, for instance. So all I'm trying to say is that, you know, we want to know. We are so proud. I personally am so proud of you. I really am, and I'm so happy. Thank you, Sam, for bringing me together with these authors here. I am so proud of you. I'm inspired. There's something that actually resonated with me when Sam shared a document that tells us not to drink coffee on his show. And there he was saying that, he sends you that stuff that says, you know, don't you dare drink coffee on my show.
Except today because of cold.
Today, I defied him today. You know, I decided, no, I'm gonna defy him.
I did apologize to the colleagues that today is exception.
Yeah. So it, you know, there's some ways written that, you know, don't edit, you know, just write. You know, and I was thinking that, you know, okay, I'm not a book writer, at least not yet, but this is exactly what I went through. My first public opinion, you know, it was so difficult to write because, you know, I was editing, you know, in my head, and it was not coming together. So I could not, and then it became easier and easier and easier, you know, to write, you know, as I went on. Sam, I do hope that this is not the last time that you are giving us as the viewers this opportunity to interact with these ordinary people who have done extraordinary things, you know, such as writing books, motivating people with their stories. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Thanks.
Let's give our two observer assessor guests a round of applause. Thank you so much, colleagues. This is what I said to you, that this is the part I enjoy most, because we get to listen to hear how we landed. Thank you so much. And let me acknowledge also the colleagues on the line. There's an input from one of our colleague members, Marilyn Mabunya. It was inspired by my experience as social worker. I think she started by saying, let me put the first one that she put here, say, the session was both informative and inspiring. It was encouraging to hear the authors share their writing journeys and what inspired their stories. I have recently completed an adult coloring book. Wow, that's good. There we are. That's another author. And then she continues to say, it was inspired by my experience as a social worker, focusing on hope, healing, learning, and development. This session has encouraged me to continue sharing my experiences and creating resources. There you are. This is beautiful. This is what we want to hear. I'm sure we'll have her one day in the studio to share with us what being a social worker what made her to write from being a social worker and seeing a need to bring these issues of healing into the space. We are really inspired. Thank you so much. And then, of course, Juliana and many others that contributed, Franz Ramuta as well, Makolo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly give our guests, our authors, opportunity to tell you how we get hold of their books and how to get hold of them. Who wants to go first? Let's go with you, Idah. How do people get hold of your book?
Okay, thank you, Sam, for the opportunity to share my contact details. You may send me an email to Idah, at rekgotso, rekgotso.co.za, Idah M at rekgotso.co.za, or you may connect with me on my LinkedIn, Idah Mabaso, and I will be able to share my number with you online. And yes, that's how you can contact me.
Beautiful. And you will be back on the second Tuesday of November, Idah. Don't forget that.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Brother Lonwabo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. People can get hold of me if they visit my website, which is www.kulati.com. www.kulati.com. That's my website. But they can also get in touch with me on WhatsApp on this number, on WhatsApp, not a call, 070-789-9047, or email info@kulati.com. Now, if you go onto my LinkedIn, you'll find me there. On Facebook, I'm there. But I also have a YouTube channel and Instagram channel, which are called Take the Gap. You can go and see some of the stuff that we've done there. But I just need to say that people can buy the book on Take a Lot in Amazon, but they can order directly from me, and then we send it to them through PEX as well as Postnet. And then we can send you all the details in terms of how to pay and all of that for the book. And then we send the book to you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Do you mind repeating the second book launch details once again?
Okay.
And how people become part of it?
Yes. So the launch is going to be on the 27th of this month, August, at 5:30 for 6. It's going to be at Clearwaters, at the Old Mutual building there. We're still working on a poster that's going to go out tomorrow, but it's going to be there at Old Mutual. We're partnering with them in terms of the venue there. We will be having some refreshments, so people can just keep on my Facebook page, on my social media. They will get this information. But it's going to be on the 27th. It's going to be Thursday, 27th August, in the afternoon or early evening, 5:30 for 6 at Clearwater in Randburg.
Beautiful. Well timed. And of course, we have you back on the second Tuesday of October, same time. We'll go deeper into these two books, especially the new one.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mr. Tep has left us, but if you want to recollect about the book, How I Lost My Sight and Gained My Vision, and he is back next month, second Tuesday, and we're going to talk deeper about his new vision and all the things he does. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and our two observer guests. Tuli, how do people get hold of you? By the way, Tuli is a coach, and Mzwandile is also a coach. These are the two executive coaches that have been given the task of reflecting for us. And if you're looking for intervention from executive coaching point of view, they are part of the COMETSA coaching network. But let them tell you also how to get hold of them. Tuli?
So, sorry, Prasad. Can I just say that one of the things I share commonality with Mzwandile, I also write articles for Mail and Guardian and this Mavericks, Daily Maverick. So maybe we'll meet one of these days.
Wow, look at that. That's another connection.
I'll definitely.
Yeah. So you see, Mzwandile needs to follow up with a book now. I mean, all those pieces of opinions needs to be compiled together into a powerful book. I think I'll leave the challenge with you. Tuli?
Yes, thank you so much, Sam, and thanks for the opportunity. People can get hold of me on LinkedIn, Machulani Tuli Mshe, and also on my website. The last time I didn't have a website, I was so embarrassed.
Thank you for catching up on that one.
Yeah, it's www.leku consulting. So that's that. And of course, on my email address, machulwanemshe@gmail.com or tuli@lekuconsultingservices.co.za.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brother Mzwandile?
Thank you.
Well, there's no need to get hold of me yet. And it's your fault, Sam, because before I become an executive coach and do the job, I need Prasem here, whom I've appointed as person who's apprentice to him. Appointed myself as his apprentice. So I think, on a seriously speaking, I am undergoing. I graduated with a Master of Management in Business and Executive Coaching from Vets Business School. The degree was awarded on the 24th of March this year. So I think it's important to indicate that, very soon you will be interacting with me, the people out there. My thesis was on career development and how coaching can assist with that. So I reached out to COMETSA so that I can get the practical experience of coaching. And the reason I think this is also relevant, Sam, is because I think it's important for people to know that there are some of us, at least I don't know about others, who are ethical enough to not jump from school or university into the practice, of coaching, because we don't want to mess people up, although we are not registered like psychologists, but we do have that responsibility to make sure that, we don't really mess people up. So we need to be trained before we can go into practice. So my only claim to fame at the moment is my public work. Of course, if you want to read my articles, you just click Mzwandile Manto. I'm sure, leave the I though, it's MZWANDILE Manto, MANTO. Sometimes it's going to appear as Mzwandile Manto Kapiwapi. So I added Biwapi. Biwapi is my mother, my late mother. I added Biwapi as to honor my mother, who was very instrumental in my intellectual development. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You are blessed with so many coaches. Lonwabo is not just the author; he's also an executive coach. So you must cling to him. So, thank you so much. This is beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Of course, you can also get my books on Amazon. My books are available on Amazon and also on Take a Lot. So that's my effort of making sure that the marketing side of it is addressed. And I think we are encouraging that and many other ways. Of course, self-selling as well. Either if you have a good network and you carry the books along, it's a wonderful way of contributing to the growth financially and even writing more books. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This was an extended session because we had great issues to address. This was our second Tuesday. The COMETSA Tuesday is live here at COMETSA Television Network, our video streaming platform that streams through LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. My name is Sansima, and as stated, our shows are based on the principle we call the idea. We inform and entertain, develop, and educate, empower and support, associate, and network. That's the idea. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Let's see you next Tuesday. We're talking executive coaching and mentoring. Thank you so much, colleagues. Stay in the studio as we disconnect from our viewers.
Thank you.